Good morning, to all of you. Welcome back to the Namaste Experience. So happy to join with you in this moment as I prepare to leave Assisi and head back to the US. I will not be with all of you tomorrow or Friday because I'll be traveling, but I'm so happy to be here right now. So as I leave Assisi, I realize a particular call that I'm feeling, that I know that we are all feeling wherever we are. And that is, we are no longer tourists. We are all and forever pilgrims. A tourist, as we said yesterday, is someone who just tours from place to place, skimming the surface, looking at all of the little gift shops and maybe going inside the churches, looking around and then coming out untouched. A pilgrim is someone who walks, someone who feels, someone who enters deeply into the moment. The other thing about being a pilgrim is that it's not always comfortable. Any of you who have walked maybe the Camino de Santiago or maybe the Camino of St. Francis know that it can be hard. You can go up and down hills, you may get blisters. There may be times when you ask the question, why am I here? It's difficult, but it is through embracing those difficulties. We've talked a lot about that in the last couple of days. Through embracing those difficulties that we discover something about ourselves. We discover something that is beneath the shell of who we believe ourselves to be, the identity that we have claimed. And we begin to touch that essential quality of love that is within each one of us. This is the difference between being a tourist and being a pilgrim. I can walk out here through the streets of Assisi and see a lot of tourists. And now and then my eyes will fall upon one that I know is a pilgrim. You can see, you can feel it in their energy. There's something about the way they carry themselves. There's a depth. And I feel that as I look and see each one of you as well. And this is how I know that you are all pilgrims. So let's begin our pilgrimage today. Yesterday, I told all of you a story about the student that is tripped and pushed under the water by the master, and only when he comes up gasping for breath does he understand that desire that we have to have if we want to remember the truth, if we want to know the essence of love within us. Basically, today's lesson is all about stopping to pretend that you are something that you're not, or pretending that you're not something that you are. They're actually the same thing. Pretending that you are something that you're not, or that you're not something that you are, ultimately is the exact same thing. You've been pretending that you're not holy, that you're not the holy, perfect child of God. You've been pretending that you're an ego, that you're a split being, that you're vulnerable to attack, all of these things that we experience in our humanity, and that we're not something that we are, that we're holy, that we're perfect, that we're complete right here and now. So I have two stories that I want to share with you, a couple of stories that I came across in my notes that I thought might be fun for us to share. So this will be a slightly lighter session than the last couple where we were talking about divine desperation. As important as I think it is, I thought I would lighten it up a little bit today. So here's story number one. A student came to the master and asked her, "What must I do to become enlightened?" "What did you need to do to be born?" she asked. "Was there any effort or doing on your part?" "No, there was nothing I had to do. It just happened." "But isn't becoming enlightened different? There must be something I have to do or release, or something that has to change, perhaps." She looked at him and said, "The only thing that has to change is your idea that something has to change. It's because you still believe that something changed from when you were created within the mind of God, that you believe that you've gathered, and you believe you've gathered enough evidence to prove that belief. The only difference between me and you is that I give no value to the so-called evidence of change, but I give total value to the changeless." So there's nothing I must do to be as you, the student asked. It is an undoing, not a doing. Hold still and allow yourself to be done, which is the same as being undone. Then you will realize that we have always been the same. Until then, you will imagine a difference between me, the student, and the teacher, the man and the woman, and everyone else that you perceive. When you realize that the will of God is forever whole, you'll stop imagining yourself as outside that wholeness, and then you will be awake. Isn't that beautiful? Because you still believe that something has changed from when you were created within the mind of God. This is the essential quality of the split mind, the idea of change. We can say that I was created perfect, but something changed. And so I don't come into a direct experience that I am as God created me right now. No matter what has happened, no matter how drastic it may seem, the truth within me, the most essential part of me, is changeless. And it is this that a master looks upon. And we can choose that right now. We can choose to look upon that right now by making a conscious decision to see only that. And when an idea of change or difference comes into our mind, I look at someone, I think that person is so different than me, and I judge them, either good or bad, swish, just swish it right away. Come right back to the changeless within you, the changeless within everyone. And then we'll begin to see through the eyes of grace. We'll see through the eyes of wholeness. We'll see as God sees. So that's story number one. Story number two is a bit more fun. Here it is. A woman came to the master and said, I am different from everyone else who comes to you. I am already a spiritual adept. And if you close your eyes and tune into my energy, you will know that this is true. The master cupped his hand behind his ear and said, I'm sorry, I didn't hear a word you just said. The woman spoke louder and said, I have come to teach you about God, but you have to be willing to hear me first. Once again, the master squinted his eyes and said, your words are garbled. I simply cannot hear you. Finally, exasperated, the woman said, how can you call yourself a teacher of enlightenment when you need hearing aids to hear anything at all? And then she walked away from the group. Master, one of the disciples said, there's nothing wrong with your hearing. Why couldn't you understand what she was saying? A true teacher of God and enlightenment does not need to proclaim themselves as such, he said. The vibration of the heart is enough, and it is only that that I hear. Everything else is nonsense and cannot be heard at all. How many times has someone come to you or you've heard about someone proclaim who they are, that they are the master, and that you should listen to them? My usual response to that is turn and run in the other direction. You're never going to hear Vicky say that. You're never going to hear me say that. Only thing we're going to say is, hey, let's walk together. Take my hand, let's go. There's nothing else we need to do. There's no high, no low, no difference. Remember, the whole key to enlightenment is giving up the idea of difference. There is no difference in the mind of God. There is only love. That desperation we've been talking about for the last couple of days is exactly that, to be desperate for the one, for that one experience beyond all differences. And when I step into that sacred garden, I will see that every flower is in bloom, every fruit on every tree is ripe, and I can just relax and be who I've always been. It's so simple, and yet we forget so easily. We need to be reminded because we've spent so much time and have put so much energy into the opposite, into differences. Look at the world around us, the world that we can choose to see or the world that we can choose to transform. If you choose to read the newspaper or watch news online or anywhere else, you'll see it's all about differences. This person, this group, this religion, whatever it may be, they're different. We've said before that the only real pandemic is the need to be right or the need to be higher or better. This is what we need to give up. This is what we are choosing to give up now. This is the field that we enter beyond all thoughts of right doing and wrongdoing. That's the field where we find ourselves now. So we come together here every day to remember, to ignite, reignite, to share, and to simply rest, to rest in God, and to rest next to our brothers and sisters who are doing the same. So with that, Vicky, I hand it over to you.
Okay, Brother James. Well, good morning, everybody. And we're going to be welcoming you back to the States tomorrow. I'm at the airport now in San Juan, as you can see, on my way back to New Jersey. I'm a Jersey girl now. And it is Holy Wednesday, remember, Silent Wednesday. And it's the day particularly set up for all of us that want to pay attention to the now, to be very present and listen to now. And what you were saying, James, you know, it's true. You can see someone 100 yards away and the way their energy flows. If you tune into someone, you can see their holiness and their connection to that holiness, their own oneness with that. And that's the same with all of life. If we can tune into now and not get lost in our own distractions. And that's partly what Wednesday is. And it's what being in the flow is and not resisting. We're talking about surrender all week. And really, surrender is a way of not resisting the reality of presence, the reality of love, the reality of that flow that's always there. But we're too distracted, being busy, trying to be announcing ourselves here, there, and everywhere. This morning I was thinking there used to be a show on TV called Make Room for Daddy. And it was a show with Danny Thomas and when I was a little kid. And this morning I said, oh, my life is about make room for God, make room for spirit, make room for love, make room for what is right now. So that's really the only guidance. That's what I've been guided to lately. Really pay attention. I've got another example. Yesterday, Lisa straightened me out about food. And then last night, so you have to know, St. John is a volcanic island. So it has lots of up and down hills and turns that are just hairpin turns, and it's very narrow. And there's only 8 miles on the island, and you're not supposed to go more than 20 miles an hour because it's easy to have a head-on collision because you also drive on the other side of the road. It's British style. Anyway, so all week I've been driving with Lisa. Now I've been going to St. John for 40 years. But for 40 years, I always rented my own car. I've never driven with anyone. So, but I know the Islanders drive kind of like kids drive. Zoom, zoom, zoom. They drive with great confidence because this is their island and they think they know every hairpin turn. So I'm driving for the first time with Lisa all week. And I'm only telling you now, she might even be on because we talked about it yesterday. So I'm driving and saying, oh dear God, this is another place where I look outside of me for security. I think safety depends on how anybody's driving. So I have to move through this and be present now because this is what's I'm bumping up against. I'm bumping up against a fear that we're going to have an accident. And I'm not the driver. I'm not called to be the driver. But more important, when I tune into the energy, I was not called, not once, to say, Lisa, will you go a little slower or anything like that. I just wasn't called to it. And that's how we learn to listen to the energy that's present and the call and the direction. It's always communicating to us. So if I'm not called to say anything, then okay, this is another place for me to let go of another belief. Another belief of something external makes me safe, or I could be a victim of it. Bad driving, good driving, whatever it is. So finally last night we were going to Trump Day, one of the beaches, and Lisa's going like a kid on a roller coaster. She can't wait to get there. So last night at the beach, and I was sitting there, okay. So I get out of the car, and she looked at me and she said, "Oh, did I go too fast for you?" I said, "Well, a little." She said, "Oh no, have I gone too fast for you all week?" And I said, "Well, a little." I said, "But it's my lesson. Don't worry about it. We're all still here. We're good. Everything's good. I'm out of the car now. I'm grateful." And we laughed about it. And I realized if I had stepped out of the energy that I was being guided to in the now and says, "Lisa, it's a little, scary for me." I would always bring it at least back to me, which is, one step. But it's not what's real. It's what a defensive person who's still engaged in safety outside of herself would say. "Please, will you slow down?" And had I said that, she would have slowed down in a heartbeat. She said it yesterday, but she would have been so aggravated all week that here she has a sister with her and she has to drive, differently than what she's used to driving. So I realized that yesterday too, and I'm so glad. And we laughed about it because I just was willing to move through it. Did I move through it? If I get there again and she drives, they have you've got to see it to realize quite how much like a roller coaster it is. But it doesn't matter, because what matters is that for me, I tune into the energy of right now and the energy of spirit that's right now and the energy of what am I really called to? Am I called to change things, to announce things, to make things how I think they should be? I'm not usually called to that. Maybe once in a while, I can't think of any right now, but I was called to experience what I'm experiencing, which was terror. I'm like holding on to the window, like, oh my God. And the day before, this is even better. Sorry, I'm trying to hold this up. The day before, one of her dearest friends comes and says she just totaled her car because a tourist was driving and they forgot about being on the wrong side of the road or something, and they had a head-on collision. And she thank God, was fine. The car was totaled, and I'm thinking, oh dear, doesn't that occur to anybody? Because these guys are so comfortable driving. But that's the lesson. I'm supposed to feel what I'm feeling. I'm supposed to feel terrified of an external situation that I think could hurt me, hurt this body, think I am this body. And it moved me right through it, so that by the end of that ride anyway, we were both laughing. But that's what everything is for. That's what a pilgrim's way is. A pilgrim's way for me is really simply being present. If we want to live a sacred, holy life, we have to identify with who we are as spirit and let whatever resistance we have be our opportunity for healing, not for having a better experience, however we think it should be. Better car ride, better meal, better this, better that. Take it as it comes. Stay with the flow. And the flow, the natural flow of spirit, we are all in touch with. And on a day like Wednesday, when we take time to be quiet and silent, we can hear much better. And it's like letting spirit announce itself. Make room for spirit. Make room for all the angels to come on in. The whole host of heaven. Come on in. I'm here paying attention, and I'm listening, not just with my ears and my eyes, but with my whole being. I'm listening. I'm tuning into it. I'm the tuning fork, tuning into the invisible, because I want to live there and abide there effortlessly. So when these bumps in the road come, I can laugh through them, not just hold on and take to my bed all the time. I'm sure we get to a place where we don't do that so much. But in the meantime, that's all right. I'll take to my bed. I'll hold on for a moment. But the goal of sanctity is to let everything be holy and be led by that voice within, the voice of love, and to know, really know that we can hear that voice of love, whether we call it, whether we sense it or feel it or hear a voice or see pictures or recognize some sign. It doesn't matter. When we tune to spirit, we can hear it because we're not covering it over with distractions of everything outside of ourselves. It's that simple. That's why I like to abide and contemplate and just gaze. I can't for hours. I'm here till 4 o'clock today. Just hanging out, pressing everybody, being here, being with the love and the light that only is. No matter how many bodies come and go, planes come and go, being with that holiness that is what we already are. So a sanctified life, a sacred life, recognizing in ourselves and each other, it's easier because we're not engaged with the distraction. We're willing to let the distraction have its way for a moment. Stay tuned to what's sacred and true within us, that spirit, that voice of love. Know that we hear it, know it, and then follow those prompts. When we follow the prompts for love, we will move through whatever ideas, like that second story, whatever ideas we're holding, you're going to get busted up big time for them. They'll get busted up, they'll fall away, and we'll be left right here, right now, living, listening, and enjoying. Don't forget, we're here to enjoy. We're really here to bring heaven on earth through the joy we experience by being here now. That's it, just by being here now,
Yes.
not looking and running away from anything or anyone. Okay, James, there you go.
Oh, thank you, Vicky. Have a wonderful trip back to New Jersey. You know, we usually think God is going too fast for us, but the truth is we're going too fast for God. And Wednesday is a good day to remember that and to take time for stillness. Take time to hold still and listen to that quiet voice that's within us telling us, you're already there. You're already home. All you need to do is open your eyes and see. So I want to see if Calico has anything she has to share, then we'll wrap it up. Good morning, Calico.
Hi, James and Vicky. Thank you so much, you guys. I was just listening to your parable on uh, driving, and one of my earliest lessons, because I hated driving in traffic, and so I took my mind training on the road and went to Santa Fe didn't have a lot of busy places, but during rush hour there was one road that was always icky. And so I went on this road and the guidance was so clear. I was spending more time looking in my rear view mirror than I was paying attention to what was in front. And the guidance was turn that mirror up. You're spending way too much time looking at what's behind you. And I thought, well, all my accidents have been rear enders. So what was I fearing? A rear ender. So when I pulled that mirror up, and I always drove that way from then on, I didn't have any fear because I wasn't paying attention to it. There may have been many near misses. I don't know, didn't matter. I was just, and then it got more of not even paying attention to where I was going, but just to the people around me. You know, the child that was making funny faces out through the side window, and I'd make funny faces. I mean, it just became a whole game. Traffic never bothered me after that. So, it's like start with wherever you're at, whatever irks you, great place to start. So thank you so much. And thank you all for just showing up in the morning. It is so helpful.
Amen. Thank you so much to both of you. Just remember to stop pretending that you are something that you're not, or stop pretending that you're not something that you actually really are. That's how simple this is. And the rest will happen on its own, as we've seen from all of these examples, all of these stories. The rest always happens on its own. If we get out of the way, turn up our mirror, Don't worry about how fast someone is driving. Just relax. The ending is sure. And to that we say, Amen.
Amen.
And
Amen.
and
Amen.
so we love you all. I'll see you next.
Mhm.
Have a beautiful rest of the day. I'll let
You
Vicky,
too.
whoever else takes it tomorrow and Friday. Many blessings to you all.